Welcome back to the Custom Night Vision YouTube channel. On today's installment of super micro niche obscure night vision component reviews, we're going to be talking about RPO optics, more specifically the new, I don't know what the unofficial name for it is, NVD Next or something like that. I've seen no formal documentation that actually quotes this name, so I'm going to call it 4.0 because on the side of the eyepiece it says Rev 4. Like all of the iterations before this one, the generation was clearly printed on the side of the optic, so we're going to call it 4.0. That's what I've called it for some time now before it was a reality. Before I talk about this optic specifically, I want to do a little history review. So years ago, we started carrying RPO 2.0, an optical system that I was very fond of. It had a different objective than the 3.0 that we've become accustomed to using, and the eyepiece was more similar to a Mil-Spec in dimensions. It was obviously a lot lighter weight, used different components. I liked it a lot, used it for years myself. Fast forward, RPO comes out with the third generation, or RPO 3.0, as we refer to it affectionately. RPO 3.0 has been great. There were some trade-offs with the RPO 3.0. We got an improved objective. From what I understand, the original 2.0 objective struggled with water ingress, was not truly mil-spec. I don't remember what the issue was with the eyepiece, but at any rate, the big change here was the eyepiece on the 3.0. Where it lost a little bit of weight, it gave up a little bit of image flatness in the way of vignetting and eye relief. The overall length of the eyepiece, or the lens cell, is significantly shorter than 2.0 and 4.0 by comparison, as you can see here. We'll do some close-up B-roll at some point, but this began a conversation between us and RPO, requesting like, hey, we really like the 3.0 objectives. We've tested them with the 2.0 eyepiece. We'd really like 2.0 eyepieces in lieu of the 3.0 eyepiece, but we would like to keep the 3.0 objective. Some years went by. There were many talks that happened about different things that they wanted to offer. Nothing ever came from it, so we just kept running with the 3.0. It's great. We like it, but me personally, I kept using 2.0 eyepieces on all my personal binos, and we film with RPO almost exclusively. At any rate, in this video, we're going to compare the 3.0, the RPO 3.0 optical system to the 4.0. Now, keep in mind, the only thing changing here is the eyepiece. The objective stays the same. We're still using a 3.0 objective. It's great. But the eyepiece is very similar, like I said, to the 2.0, and dimensionally, it is very similar to the Mil-Spec eyepiece. So just in initial testing, we're seeing a lot better eye box, and the image seems to be a little flatter with less vignetting, as we experienced with the 2.0. To add to this, we're going to throw a monocular with Mil-Spec optics in the mix, as well as an optic with a 2.0 eyepiece and a 3.0 objective. If you've watched any of our night vision footage, you've already seen this a whole bunch. That's what we film with, like I said, exclusively. But in some of the different situations that we compare these side to side, we're going to compare those other two just so you have a full spectrum idea of what the differences optically are on these. Obviously, we'll include weights as well, but I think that's all I've got for now. Let's go get the comparison started. Okay, first up is the Mil-Spec Carson slash NVD slash Fujinon equipped monocular. I want to say these are Carson cage-coated optics, but it doesn't fucking matter, guys. Anyway, these are my 3 trusty target stands that we use for all these different demonstration setting, whatever we create. I apologize for this guy over here not having a head. My bestest good gay retarded friend Will Berry shot it with Sims, so you know, hit him up in his DMs and tell him he owes me whatever those cardboard USPSA targets are. I digress. Anyway, get a good look at you know, the performance of this optic. It is rather dark in this room. There's a closet with a light on. Behind us, the door is cracked open ever so slightly, just so you have a nice crisp image. But again, this is night vision territory, as far as I can tell, with the illumination in this room. Yeah, so this is about what we're used to from these mil-spec type optics. Good center resolution, good, relatively good edge clarity, a good crisp edge, no vignetting. I think we're going to switch to monocular over now and see how it stacks up. All right, we're on monocular number 2. This unit is outfitted with the RPO 2.0 eyepiece and 3.0 objective. It literally just crossed my mind that I probably should have put a 2.0 objective in that, but hey, you know what? We're really comparing the eyepieces today. So I'm looking through the monitor and I can see not a whole lot of difference. I mean, I think this has honestly better center resolution and about the same edge clarity. I will say the cutoff on the edges is probably a little bit less crisp, but we're talking about less than a percentage of the image screen there on the edge. This may change if I adjust the diopter. No, stays about the same. So overall, very similar performance. Yeah, obviously this weighs a lot less than the mil-spec, so point for RPO 2.0/3.0 objective. Let's move on to the RPO. Let's move on to the RPO 3.0/3.0. All right, you are now viewing monocular number 3. This one is outfitted with the RPO 3.0 eyepiece and the 3.0 objective. As we kind of expect, still very good center resolution, light transmission. Where this one is not performing as well is the edge clarity. It may be hard to see on your monitor. Maybe not, I'm not sure yet. Again, this has not been color graded and post processed or whatever you want to call it when you edit a video. This also doesn't take into account the reduced eye relief because all these are set pretty close to the lens, the camera lens. But I do see a little bit more vignetting. And what I mean when I say vignetting is right around here, these edges, they're just a little darker. And what that's really going, what it's indicating is that you have reduced eye relief. And when you back away further from this device than you would typically, you're going to get a reduced field of view. So the further you move away from this eyepiece, the less you're going to see. It's going to look more like that. Closer in, you can see the entire image screen. Further away, it's just like on your day scope, guys. No wizardry or night vision geek magic. It is what it is. These have a slightly reduced eye relief, and that's kind of the knock on them. But other than that, I mean, we've got, again, really good center resolution. I'd say on par with the other two. Let's go ahead and swap over to the new. All right, we're now looking through monocular number 4. We did these in chronological order. We did not move the camera, if I didn't make that clear from the beginning. This one has the new 4.0 eyepiece and the venerable 3.0 objective. I don't know about you, but this looks a whole lot like 2.0. There may be a slight difference in light transmission. I know the 2.0 objective or eyepiece rather could be a little too bright at times, and I think they may have changed the coating on the lenses because this looks a little bit more refined. But again, we're talking in the single-digit percentile of difference, not meaningful in my opinion. Good center resolution, pretty good edge clarity. I would say on par with the Mil-Spec example that we started with. I mean, this is just a great optical system, guys. There's not a whole lot I can say about it. We're going to do some other, I'm going to mess with the objective here a little bit, take it out of focus and bring it back in. I'm going to do some more situation / examples, demonstrations in some other rooms in a minute. But go ahead and take a good look at that. All right, let's move on. Okay, we moved outside. This is Monocular number 1 with the Mil-Spec optics on it. We're going to do a little lens flare comparison. I know this is a hot topic. Everybody wants to talk about it when we start talking about RPO. Got a floodlight on the side of this building here. I'm going to slowly pan it into frame and then back out. So we see a little bit of lens flare right there. Make a mental note of what these artifacts look like. This is what I'm talking about right here and right here. I personally have never thought this was a big deal, but it's something that gets talked about a lot on the internet, so we'll go ahead and demonstrate it. Again, this is the Mil-Spec Monocular. This is Monocular number 2, lens flare comparison. This one has the 2.0 eyepiece and the 3.0 objective. Go ahead and pan this floodlight into frame here. So we're seeing a different kind of lens flare. Again, this has the 3.0 objective, which in my opinion had improved flare suppression over the 2.0. I probably should have built this monocular out with the 2.0 objective and the 2.0 eyepiece, but you know, my bad. This is a bit of the lens flare that we don't see with the Mil-Spec. If you see this stuff right here, that's really the only, I guess, increased artifact that I'm noticing. Again, 2.0 eyepiece, 3.0 objective on this one. We're on monocular number 3. For a reminder, this is a 3.0 eyepiece with a 3.0 objective. I'm gonna go ahead and pan over to that floodlight. Right off the bat, we see some lens flare, looking like rainbows right down the middle. Not a big deal, just something to be aware of. And right there, it's an additional artifact we didn't see previously. And there's another one right there. Right there. 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 I'm not pointing these out to illustrate that these aren't apparent in other ones. I just want to make sure that everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say lens flare. Something that you may have noticed before if you're driving in your car late at night in a humid environment, well, really in any environment, but it's more apparent when it's humid. You will see this kind of stuff on your windshield when you're on the freeway driving under streetlights. There. Okay. So overall, not a whole lot worse. It's not better, than Mil-Spec, but it's not a whole lot worse. Again, 3.0 eyepiece, 3.0 objective on this one. We're going to move on to the last one, the 4.0. This is monocular number 4, outfitted with the 4.0 eyepiece. That's the new one, and the 3.0 objective. Moving towards that floodlight. There's our first artifact. Second. And third. Again, not entirely different than what you've seen with the other ones. A little bit more than Mil-Spec. Not a deal breaker. Not distracting, in my opinion. But there's your demonstration of the different lens flares between the 4 different optical systems. Okay, in this stage setting here, we're going to focus on the light transmission of these different optical systems. I'm turning, this is just my cell phone light. I'm turning it on so you can see that there is a target stand on there. I know this is going to be pretty hard to see when we pull the files off these cameras and we run them through DaVinci. This night vision footage gets pretty dark, so you may not be able to see anything. There's no really good way for me to tell at this point, but there's a target stand. So I'm going to turn my light off now. Give you a second to look at that. There is a little LED up here for a fire alarm, but I mean, I almost can't see that with my unaided eye. It is casting a little bit of light in here, but not very much. This is, sorry if I didn't mention it before, this is the first monocular, the one that includes the Mil-Spec optics. Looks like, I mean, I haven't compared it to anything yet, but I've got pretty good light transmission, considering how dark it is. We're going to go ahead and switch over to monocular number 2. All right, we're on to monocular number 2. As a reminder, this is the one outfitted with the RPO 2.0 eyepiece and the 3.0 objective. I'm looking through the monitor. I see a very similar light transmission, maybe a slight increase. It's kind of what I expected with the 2.0 over the Mil-Spec. I can still see that target stand down there. I can still see everything I need to see. And I will tell you, this is, I mean, a hall that's so dark, I would not walk down it without turning a light on. Like, I don't know if there's a wall. Without looking through this monitor, I have no idea what's in front of me. So this is a very dark hallway. And that target stand is about 40, what do you think, Trevor? 35 meters? Meters? No, feet. Sorry. Feet. I'm retarded. Yeah, like 35 feet away. So, and that end of the hall is completely dark as well. But that's the 2.0 eyepiece with a 3.0 objective. Let's go ahead and go to our next monocular. This is monocular number 3. Again, 3.0 eyepiece, 3.0 objective. Seeing similar performance to the other 3. I can't really, I don't know. I don't want to comment on it until I see it on a bigger monitor, but looks about the same as 2.0. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, if you're watching this right now, you're going to be able to tell better than I can standing where I'm at. But there it is. Give you another second to look at it, back up, rewind, compare, screenshot, chop it in half, lay them over the top of each other, whatever you want to do. Let's move on to the last one so we can get the fuck out of here. All right, this is the last and final monocular. This is the RPO 4.0 eyepiece and the 3.0 objective. Looks pretty similar. Yeah, I mean, I can still see the target stand on here. Something I've discovered over the years with these Tontos specifically, and we've tried to be real good about making sure there's a fresh battery and everything. But for some reason, if you have a battery with anything less than like 80%, like a CR123 in one of these Tontos, the image will actually start to get a little dimmer, and I don't think it's supposed to do that. I don't know if that's all of them. I mean, some of these Tontos that we've used for demos have a lot of miles on them. Take that with a grain of salt. At any rate, take this in. 3.0 objective, 4.0 eyepiece. But all of these are performing great. We're going to review all this footage and then close it out with a segment at the office, most likely. Welcome back to the shop. I hope that wasn't too confusing. I know that's a lot of information to take in, a lot of video to compare side by side, but before I talk about these optics, I just want to talk about the 4 different tubes we use. I have all 4 of the data sheets here, and they're about as similar as 4 tubes can be. They are all 81 line pair. We have SNRs of 35.9, 36.1, 36, and 36. EBIs of 0.96, 1.2, 0.99, and 1.06. The gains are all almost exactly the same, between 68 and 69,000. Photocathodes are all within 100 or 2. So yes, these are nearly identical, about as identical as intensifier tubes get. Let's talk weights. Pause. Time in. Okay, we're going to start with the Mil-Spec optics. This is a Carson / NVD Carson cage. It's Fujinon optics, guys. I'm going to go ahead and take the eye cup retaining ring off. Weigh these. 126.87 grams. 126.87. That's the Mil-Spec Fujinon optic system. This is RPO 2.0 objective, RPO 2.0 eyepiece. These are no longer produced, if I didn't make that clear, but there are some still out in rotation. 66.5 grams on that one. RPO 3.0 objective, RPO 3.0 eyepiece. 59.39 grams. RPO 4.0 eyepiece, RPO 3.0 objective. 64.05 grams. So as you can see, big weight savings going with RPO over the Mil-Spec option. Some slight variance of a couple grams between the 3 iterations. One of the big takeaways here is the main advantage of going with RPO is the weight savings, especially on a binocular. Or I mean, if you're doing a monocular like a Tonto with RPO, there isn't a lighter night vision device, period. Covered weights, let's talk performance. We reviewed some of the footage, not all of it, on like a better monitor. And then I went into some dark areas and, handheld these, compared them with my naked eye. I've used each one of these optical systems personally extensively, and they all performed exactly as I expected or I remembered. These things are all very close in performance. The difference in optical performance between these 4 optical systems is not the main cause of why you would want to select one or the other. Again, the weight is probably the most important thing, but the performance is different. So I'll just touch on that a little bit. The RPO 2.0 has a lot more light transmission than the Mil-Spec. The Mil-Spec is going to provide more contrast and good edge clarity, with slightly reduced center clarity or resolution over the RPO 2.0. The 3.0 is going to provide the same center resolution or center clarity that we enjoyed with the 2.0, at the cost of a little bit of vignetting around the edge and edge distortion, edge clarity. The 4.0 kind of merges these two together, where we get the nice crisp clean edge clarity, that we got with the 2.0. It's not quite as good as the Mil-Spec, but the center resolution and clarity is better. It does have increased light transmission, slightly less than the 2.0, but it has slightly better flare suppression than the 2.0. As you can see, as we move up, it's a constant game of kind of trade-offs. The decision is yours. I prefer RPO 4.0 eyepiece and objective over everything else on the table because I enjoy the weight savings, and the optical performance is far exceeds what I would consider the minimum. That's my personal take on it. Review all the footage, you know, screenshot it, lay them over the top of each other like I said before, compare them, let me know what you think. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, put it in the comments. You can reach out to us on any of the normal platforms, DM us or whatever. And if you're not subscribed, go subscribe to our channel, man. We're trying to grow this thing, spending a lot of time for you. I mean, the least you can do is like hit that little button down there that says subscribe. All right. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.